Namaskar, this is Akhilesh Bhargav again. Welcome to Tidbits on Business and Finance with me. With the fiercely fought general elections on the cards, the focus, as we are seeing, of every political party is on promising to distribute goodies if it comes to power or even before it comes to power. It all started, according to us, with the promise of Rahul Gandhi to write off farmer loans, which he made in the run-up to the three state elections of MP, Chhattisgarh and Rajasthan. He promised to immediately completely write off farmer loans if the Congress came to power. And it did pay dividends to them. They came to power. It is yet another thing that these fantastic promises, these dramatic promises, are not written off in the dramatic way in which they are promised and made, which is an instant, complete write-off of farmer loans. It never happens that way. But it did yield them a harvest of political dividends. They came to power in 3 states. Emboldened by the success of this kind of a formula, the Congress came up with the NYAY scheme, which is a minimum income guarantee program whose entire structure is ambiguous and not known. And the huge amount of funds that will be needed for implementing such a program pan-India, where will the funds come from, is also a question mark. But it has not stopped them from promising these kind of goodies. The Bharatiya Janata Party needs to also get into this race, and the Prime Minister also promised his bunch of goodies, and being in power, they have been attempting to deliver them, which is the PM Kisan Yojana, as also pension for workers in the unorganized sector. Many such goodies have been promised. In this mindless game of promising goodies, it is the national treasury of India that gets emptied. Our very scarce resources are denied for the purpose of our economic development. In fact, they do get wasted to a large extent without really solving, without giving a tangible, long-term, durable solution to our problems, our huge burning issues like the rural distress that we see, unemployment, poverty, etc. They don't result in any such solution, and the problems have continued. The reality is that we need reforms to resolve these. We don't need these kind of election goodies that are being promised. And the larger question is, what are the kind of reforms do we need? Do we just need economic reforms, or do we need political reforms? Do we need political reforms to ensure that the economic reforms are a success? Political reforms that tame the politician, that make the politician, the powerful politician, far more accountable to the public, and they curb and restrain his unbridled powers. We need political reforms that ensure that politicians are controlled and disciplined, because it is for failure of these reforms that economic reforms also do not yield the results that are promised. Let's take a few instances. Take a case like the burning issue of India's NPAs, which remains unresolved. This was a politically created problem during the Congress regime. 10 years of political meddling into banks, completely unbridled political meddling into banks by politicians during the UPA rule has created this giant NPA mess. The Congress created it because of political meddling and passed it on to the BJP to handle. This political meddling by the netas results in NPAs being created, results in corruption amongst the bankers, negligence of bankers, and a huge economic problem got created. It came to the BJP by way of a legacy, and the BJP has tried every formula in the book, enacting new laws, ensuring that the judiciary pursues resolution of these matters, banking policy changes, etc. But the problem of NPAs remains unresolved. The only long-term solution to resolving the banking crisis is to stop political meddling in banks, and that nobody talks about. The BJP has not come up with any policy to say that meddling in institutions, banks and institutions will stop. In fact, it has increased, or rather it has diluted the autonomy of institutions like the RBI. So, till you do not have a political reform that stops the meddling of politicians in banks, do not expect NPA crisis to be resolved permanently. Take yet another burning social economic problem of India, a crisis, which is inequality. India has perhaps the highest inequality in income and wealth in the world, and it's a shameful inequality. This inequality is a creation of crony capitalism. National resources get cornered, national resources get monopolized by a chosen privileged few because of political meddling and political favoritism. Over the years, the big have become bigger and bigger, the small have become smaller and smaller. This particular issue of crony capitalism is a creation of Congress. They created it, they mastered it, passed it down to the BJP, and the BJP just continued it. They made no changes whatsoever. And what is the result? In 5 years of the BJP rule, the economic, social inequalities in India have widened even much more. No resolution of the problem. And in the process, as I said, the small have become smaller and smaller, the big have become bigger and more powerful. That explains the fact that the MSME sector today is in a distress. It also explains our unemployment problem. It also explains a problem of rural distress. All burning issues which come out of crony capitalism. We need to stop crony capitalism to ensure that inequalities of income are reduced, and that means political reforms. We need to ensure that these powerful politicians with vested interests are not able to meddle in institutions. They are made more accountable. But nobody talks about these political reforms. Same is the case of fiscal irresponsibility, by which politicians promise all kinds of goodies to people without even bothering to see whether it is fiscally responsible and we can afford it or not. And same is the case of their lack of accountability completely. Decades of economic reforms in India have not yielded the results that could have come only because of this reason. Economic reforms without political reforms will not yield the kind of results that are needed. And that explains why, even after 13 years of recent years of pursuit of reforms, India's sovereign rating has not yet been upgraded. Our economic situation fails to realize the potential which it can, and that is because we do not devolve the powers from Delhi down to the Gram Panchayats or the local bodies in a substantial way such that the politician is made accountable. In sheer practical terms, it is much easier for a common man to seek accountability, let's say from a member of a local municipal body, maybe a corporator or a panchayat member. It's much easier to confront him and seek accountability than to seek accountability from an all-powerful member of parliament enjoying all the perks and privileges of Delhi. We need to devolve, we need to dilute powers. Until these political reforms are not done, economic reforms are not going to yield the results that are expected of them. This issue came up recently for discussion at an annual session of the CII, and it had to do with what should be the new government's priorities in the first 100 days. Arvind Panagriya, the former vice chairman of the Niti Aayog, in his opinion, the emphasis should be on economic reforms, consisting of labor reforms, land reforms, privatization, trade liberalization, etc. According to him, that needs to be the focus. In other words, continue economic reforms the way they have been going on. Mr. Bimal Jalan, the former governor of RBI, on the other hand, emphasized on political reforms. According to him, powerful politicians with vested interests need to be made more accountable, and the implementation of policies have to be done only by autonomous institutions whose autonomy needs to be respected and cannot be violated. In other words, his emphasis was on political reforms. The sad part is nobody talks of political reforms. Nothing meaningful or tangible has been done in that direction. And while economic reforms are needed and they must continue, we first need a heavy dose of political reforms. The powers of the powerful politician need to be diluted, he needs to be made more accountable, and the autonomy of institutions needs to be protected and respected. Only then economic reforms will succeed. But then no politician wants to talk about it. No party wants to talk about it. Because if they were to dilute the powers of politicians, then why would we have such fiercely contested elections? And till political reforms don't take precedence at the moment, economic reforms will continue to be a very slow process and will not yield the results that India can get. This is Akhilesh Bhargav signing off till we meet again. Namaskar.
HW News Network today is a year and a half old. Thanks to your support, thanks to your love, we've grown. We require your support a little more. What we request you to do is to download our free app. Our app is in Hindi, English and Marathi. We promise to update you with the latest news, views, analysis, interview. We also have a live TV going in that. If you download our app, we will get advertisers. And if we get advertisers, we'll get revenue. We get revenue, we can serve you better. So once again, please do support us. Please download our app. Namaskar.
If you like this video, please share it and we would love to hear your comments in the comments section down here. Also, please do like our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter to get minute-to-minute news updates. For more such shows and videos, subscribe to our YouTube channel.